Hello, welcome to another Delta Force video. This is specifically going to go through some things I wish I knew going into this game, and I feel like every time I play this game I learn something new, which is something I really love about it. So I'm going to run through some tips. Please focus on the extraction mode. First off, we all know about sort stash. One of the best features in any extraction shooter is the ability to quickly sort your stash and get everything in order. But did you know that in the settings you can actually customize how your stash gets sorted? So at the bottom of your game settings, you'll see first, you can auto sort whenever you open the stash. So every time you open it, it'll auto sort. I found this a bit annoying because I'm constantly going in and out of my stash and then it would constantly pop up and make a nil noise. So I turned it off after running it for a bit. But what is really nice is you can organize your stash. So what do you want at the top? Do you want your consumables? Do you want your firearms, attachments, gear, keycards, collectibles, container crates, or others? So you can organize exactly how you want your stash to be sorted. Now, separate to that, you may see above these settings, you can also automatically set it so items get put in your safe box. So this is when you're out in the world looting, and it will prioritize certain items to get them in your safe box so that they're secure in case you get killed. Now, first off, you've got the option to put favorite items in your safe box. I'll talk about what favorite items are in a minute, but that's a really cool feature. You can then prioritize high value items. So this will be your purples and your reds and your golds. Then you can also set a loot value. So anything for me that's over 10,000 will get put into my safe box. You can up this all the way up to 40,000 or down to 1,000. And that is a really nice feature. So it avoids the risk that you forget to put it in your safety box, and it will keep it there for when you die. Next up, we have another feature. So underneath your sort stash button, you also have the batch sell, which I use constantly to get rid of items. At the moment, I'm just selling everything unless I find it useful, which I'll come to again in a second. But this means you can go through and just click everything you want to sell. Alternatively, if you've got a ton of one item, like say I want to sell all these grinders, once you picked a couple of them, you'll see it'll say F to select all, and that'll highlight all those in your stash if you want to get rid of all of one item. Just a little trick that can save you some time. But how do you know what items are useful and what items aren't? Well, if you click on an item, let's stick with the grinder, and you open up the details page, you've got these 4 buttons. You can sell it, you can equip it to your character, you can source it, which will tell you exactly where you can find these to loot, so Zero Dam Cement Plant, Space City Industrial Zone, or how much it costs to purchase it from the auction house. You can then click usage, and it will list out exactly what crafts this item is used for. So you can see it's used for construction in the black site. So this is for upgrading one of the components like the shooting range, your workbench, or your pharmacy, for example. It will be used in the construction of one of those upgrades. But you can also see it's used in a ton of crafting. So you've got the M14 marksman rifle, you've got a heavy tactical bag, you've got ammo here. So that's a really easy way to find out what items in your stash are actually useful. So see here, this EV battery, it's only used in a couple of things. Maybe I'm not interested in those. Okay, I'll sell it. And that's a handy way to go through and figure out, because there's so much loot in the game, it's hard to know what's useful and what's not. And that's an easy way to figure that out. But let's say you find an item that you find is really useful. So say like here I want to upgrade my stash to level 3 and I need this wide angle lens and the high power crusher. Well, what you can do, like I've done here, is you can mark these items as a favorite. Now what this means is that when you find that item in the world, this little star icon will pop up above it to make it really clear that you favorited it. That makes things so much easier when it comes to remembering what items you're trying to look for. When you're trying to look for all different items for crafting or for upgrades, you can forget quickly what you need or how many of them you need. And so by marking them as favorites, that's a really easy way to prioritize what you want to loot. And then as we talked about before, you can prioritize favorite items in the safe box first. So if you find that wide angle lens, you favorited it, it's going to chuck it straight in your safe box. So this is a really nice quality of life thing that makes looting and finding items that you need really easy and efficient. Next up, let's talk about traders. Let's say you want to buy a vest. Now, obviously you could go to the auction house and purchase that, or you can go around and buy all these loot items. Or if you click this little shopping basket, it'll just quickly find all these items for you in the auction house, tell you how much each item is, and tell you how much it's going to cost altogether. So that's a really easy way. You then click that, you see it fills all those items, and now I can exchange and I have the vest. But what this is useful for is you can actually compare the price. So I can see here that all these items together are going to cost me 47,000 to purchase them individually on the auction house. If I then click on source, I can then see how much the vest is. 45,000 in the auction house. So really, it's cheaper to just go ahead and buy it from the auction house than to buy all these items individually. It's a really quick way to figure out what's cheaper and what's more effective when it comes to buying loadout items. Now, one thing when we talk about loadouts is gear sets. This is something I'm sure you're all aware of now. Gear sets are really, really useful. You can buy them from traders, these gear tickets. So from the assault battalion, you can buy the recruit standard gear ticket for just 5,000. And what that lets you do is a recruit gives you a full set of gear. So you'll have a gun, some armor, some ammunition, and some medical items. There's 3 tiers to it. You've got your recruit, your standard, and your elite. How it generally works is the first 2 will give you better armor, and the last one will prioritize better ammunition, hence why it's called firepower. The second one is slightly more focused on better armor, so you'll generally find that armor in the survival one is slightly higher tier. So for instance here in the standard one, this comes with a purple vest as opposed to the balanced one, which is a more all-round loadout. Now, the one thing to note with these is once you have that loadout, you then cannot customize it. So now if you look in your stash, you'll see that everything is grayed out. So I can't go and equip a secondary weapon, for instance. It won't let me do that. But what you can do, like you see I've got here, is you can still use your safe box. So I've got a ballistic vest repair kit in there. But if I wanted to, I could chuck in this med kit. If I wanted more meds, I could still use that. So there is still an element of customization available. Now, another thing when it comes to loadout, one of the most important items you have is your ballistic vest, right? Now, we all know you've got your gray vests, you've got your green, blue, purple, gold, right? In terms of armor levels. But what you may not notice is this metric here, in match repair efficiency. Now, I highly recommend carrying a ballistic vest repair kit into a match. But what is important to note is some vests will repair poorly in game. You might wonder why sometimes you use a repair kit of the same color. So that's another important thing to note. Blue repair kits will repair blue and lower better. Purple will repair purple and lower better. That's a really important thing to remember. If you try and use a blue repair kit on a purple vest, it will barely do anything. But vests will repair better than others. So this has a low repair efficiency. That means your repair kit is not going to go as far with this armor compared to this is a medium repair efficiency. So your repair kit will work better. And that's a really important thing to take into account. The same thing applies for helmets. You've got low repair efficiency here, a medium repair efficiency here. So that's something to take into account when you're purchasing gear. Don't just think about the hit points and the color of it, but how easy is it to repair that item so that you can keep fighting? Because there's nothing worse than having your vest broken and having barely any hit points on it because you know it's then basically redundant in protecting you. Little bonus tip for you in the map menu, if you click that little comms icon in the bottom left, sometimes command will give you a free item such as a weapon or other in your emails. Doesn't always work, but it's worth always checking out because sometimes it'll just give you something for free. It's very nice. Now, alongside armor, another important factor is obviously your weapons and ammunition. Now, one really cool thing you can do is obviously you've got your gunsmith where you can build out weapons and purchase the attachments. Did you know that you can try before you buy in this game? So let's say I want to test out a G.T.I battle rifle. So you find it in the gunsmith and you click preview, and now you can chuck on whatever attachments you want, and as long as you click preview, you'll then be able to try them out before you purchase them. So let me just throw a few attachments on here. Preview, preview, preview. And now we can enter the firing range to try the weapon out. Pretty standard. What's really nice on the top left, you obviously got details on terms of how much damage you're doing, your accuracy, the knockdown time. What you can also do on the screen on the right is you can customize the targets with certain armor and helmets, so you can see how well your weapon performs. You can also move the target out to different distances using this slider here, or you can customize the health of the target, and you can also add numbers that pop up as you shoot them to tell you how much damage that you're doing. Another really interesting thing is you can actually test different ammo types. So you'll see for the G.T.I, there's different ammos here. Now, actually, I want to test this with a submachine gun because different calibers have different ammo types. And what's interesting is you can see now the general rule of thumb is that you rank ammos by their color, right? So you've got gray, green, blue, purple, gold in terms of what ammos are best. But you'll see here we've got 2 blue ammos. Well, what's the difference? Well, basically, you've got your rip ammo, and you'll see that this has a level 0 penetration. So this is not going to be effective against armor. You see, that took over a second to down that enemy because it has very low penetration, whereas AP 6.3, if I equip that, less than half the time to take down the target. So why would you use this ammo? Well, what you can see here is underneath you've got flesh damage and armor penetration. This is a high flesh damage ammo compared to the AP, which is significantly weaker against flesh. So what we find is if we equip the rip ammo, and then we go for the legs, that is where it's effective. So don't just go grabbing blue ammo because you think it's better. You need to know what type of ammo it is, particularly what penetration. So if it's got a 0 penetration, that means it's an ammo that's good against flesh. Whereas when you've got the high penetration, then it's when you want to be shooting them center mass or in the helmets. Another thing to note is that you'd obviously suspect that faces aren't protected by their helmets, but you'll see that actually the helmet hitbox covers the entire face. So high pen ammo is significantly better against the head than low pen, but obviously hitting them in the head is still going to be quick. Now, another really interesting thing when it comes to weapons, maybe you don't want to go into gunsmith, maybe you don't want to go in the firing range, you're just trying to look at things quickly. You can actually go into the details page of a weapon, and it will tell you obviously all the attachments you've got, the basic weapon stats, the type of ammo that's in the magazine. You can then also click on this details tab, and it will give you an in-depth breakdown of the weapon stats. So you can see the damage fall off. So after about 60 meters, the damage on this G3 begins to drop off slightly. You can see your control stats. This is really nice because you can see, so this is the base recoil pattern for this gun, and this is what the recoil pattern is going to be with the attachments I've got on, and you can see how the attachments are making a difference. Same again, you can see the handling difference. So my current reload time is longer because of the attachments I've got, and the current empty reload time is also longer. Similar with stability, currently the attachments I have on are dropping stability, and this is the difference it makes. So like my hip flinch is going to be higher, my movement stability is going to be higher. So these are really interesting stats. And then if you wanted to, you could obviously take attachments off different guns and see how it affects that weapon. So if without going into the firing range, you could quickly see what the recoil pattern is. And I think that is the most useful chart there by far. So that is all for today's video. This is all stuff that's in your menu without going into the game itself, but I think will help you a long way in achieving things like getting the right loot and equipping your best loadout to either keep you alive or to take down enemies faster, and also to try out different loadouts before you start buying a bunch of attachments and spending all your money on them. I'd love you guys to share your tips below, anything that you found in the game. Like I said, I feel like every time I play, I'm learning something new. So I'm sure this video is going to have a bunch more stuff that I could have added in. But yeah, share your advice below and like the video if you enjoyed it, dislike it if you didn't, and subscribe for more. Cheers, guys.